So Saturday's game was ass. I mean, there's really no other way around it. And I know there's gonna be somebody that freaks out in the comment section. Oh my God, you start off the episode with cursing. I don't care. It's my show. No touchdowns, right? None of that. Like 2 for 14 on third down. It was bad. 11 penalties. We'll talk a little bit about that game, the takeaways from that game, both good and bad, mostly bad. And then we're going to get into updates from Brad Biggs, both on Ozzy Traplio, who could be headed to the IR to start off the season, and is DeAndre Swift actually the next Chicago Bear, not Caleb Williams, to get a contract extension? We'll talk about all that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go into this content for today, y'all. I'm glad that I took a day off. I'm glad that I did not release any Chicago Bears content between that game Saturday and today, which is now Monday, because, listen, I don't care what the score said, even though the score wasn't great either. That game was absolutely ugly, hideous, and disgusting for the Chicago Bears, right? It is what it is. Now, it's a preseason game, and I'm not going to make these large, hard takes on what it means for the Chicago Bears season or anything like that, right? Because I care how the Chicago Bears play. That's what I care about anything, right? And the no touchdowns part, the 2 for 14 on third down, the 11 penalties, the sloppy football side of it is unacceptable from this team. And you can see it on Ben Johnson's face after that game. I'm sure he drilled everybody on the team after the game because it was bad, right? The 27-9 doesn't really bother me as much because it is preseason, as much as the Bears beating themselves in that game does matter to me. The Bears made everything more difficult on themselves as the game went on, right? Now, we're going to talk about it, right? There does need to be some nuance in regards to that one. Caleb Williams got one drive, 10 plays, and out of that, he was 2 for 5, 28 yards. There was some good movement down the field in regards to that one. I do think the drive did reach score position, which is good. But then you had the holding penalty, the miss to Colston Loveland that should have been, a better pass and a better catch. The pass batted down at the defensive line and a field goal, right? So I think when you look at this, I'm not going to say Caleb was terrible because I'm not going to say that in one drive going 2 for 5. But I will say this: it was just disappointing. And that's really the kind of overarching thing that I can give you from this game. I mean, I guess you can frame it as he was perfectly fine. Like, it's cool. But perfectly fine for a quarterback in their third year is not, like, again, it's preseason, right? Now, if this was the way that a regular season game started off, I'll be more concerned about it or anything like that, right? But if the biggest thing is you're upset about is Caleb Williams not scoring a touchdown in his one preseason drive, then we're searching for something to be mad about rather than actually analyzing the things that we can take more away from. Does Caleb Williams need to be better? Yes. Will he be the first to tell you he needs to be better? Probably. Yes, you need to be better in regards to this. So I'm not going to search for a reason to panic in regards to Caleb Williams, but he needs to be better. And overall, like I said, it was fine. It was a fine drive. But you want more than fine. This is Caleb Williams, who, people are talking about could be an MVP conversation. You want to see more than that. But in preseason, it's very realistic that you may not see more than that, and we didn't in that one, right? I think the headline coming from this game overall is that the left tackle is a problem. It's a fucking problem. I'm going to be real here. It's a goddamn – Ozzy Traplio can't come back enough. We have an update on Ozzy Traplio we'll get into, right? The fact of the matter is I called it on, Friday, Thursday, one of those days, that the left tackle battle was turned into a Royal Rumble. We heard it was Braxton, then Karan had some opportunity to start. He got moved to right tackle. It was Theo Benedict again. Jedrick Wills was supposed to be in it. So it turned into a battle royale, Royal Rumble, whatever you want to call it. But Braxton struggled. Theo struggled in pass protection, but Theo is always really good in run pro. That's one of Theo Benedict's strengths. But Braxton sells the same strengths, but Braxton struggled overall. Then Karan came in and didn't settle things down at all. The uncomfortable reality of this situation with the left tackle is that the Bears have good overall offensive line depth. We have solid depth, right? And we got some really good starters out there. But the left tackle is a problem. And the problem is that one of our biggest and major weaknesses is one of the most valuable positions and important positions on the fucking offensive line, right? So the debate now brewing is that should the Chicago Bears sign another veteran offensive line, or do you just hope that you can survive and Ozzy Traplio returns, which you got more on here later in the episode. But listen, the Bears don't need 5 decent left tackles. We don't need 5 decent left tackles. We need one guy, and then the rest can be decent. And unfortunately, because of Ozzy Traplio's injury, we don't have the one guy at left tackle. We don't have that. We got a bunch of decent players at left tackle. Listen, Theo has had flashes of looking really good. Braxton has had flashes of looking really good. Jedrick Wills looked really good before his injury, but that at this point, we're years removed from that. And Karan has never looked really good in the actual NFL game, a regular season game, but he did show promise in the last preseason game and reportedly in practice as well. But as it stands right now, we got a bunch of decent left tackles, no standout left tackle, and it brings another level of concern to what this offensive line is going to look like because, again, sometimes with the offensive line, you're only as good as your weakest link. And that weakest link can completely blow up an otherwise decent offensive line. You got to get this figured out. Or again, we're just going to hold on and try to survive until Ozzy Traplio's fully healthy. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad strategy because admittedly it's not necessarily a bad strategy when you already have your left tackle of the future on the roster. But right now, it looks like a fucking problem. And that's all it looks like. It looks like a big effing problem right now. And I'm tired of it. Now, the one thing that we can pull away positive from this as well, let's give Bears fans a little something to feel good about. Jordan Vandenberg's a damn steal. He's a damn steal. The box score, even stands out. 3 tackles, which, isn't going to be the great, right? But when you look at it, he put pressure. He got pursuit. The motor that he played with. The double teams that he drew double teams in a preseason game. Now, I get it. It wasn't starters and stuff like that, and that's great. But keep in mind, Jordan Vandenberg is going to be probably coming off the bench. Shitty. I mean, I'll tell you this right now. I've seen more from Jordan Vandenberg than I saw all last year from Grady Jarrett. Now, Grady Jarrett's a veteran. He's hopefully now fully healthy, so you have that. He forced quarterbacks to move consistently, right? So at some point, the question is that when do we stop getting from Jordan Vandenberg being from a nice rookie story to become this dude may be the dude? He may be the dude on the interior defensive line. I'm going to be 100% honest with that. Now, it's preseason, so I'm not going to make that hard line take based off preseason. But if we start seeing in the regular season Jordan Vandenberg moving bodies like he moved, then I'm sorry, one of those bodies that he needs to move, may need to move is either Javon Dexter or Grady Jarrett out the starting lineup. I'll be 100% honest with you on that one. If he keeps moving bodies the way that he is, the body that he's going to move next is going to be one of the starters that's there. Jordan Vandenberg isn't fighting to make the roster. He never really was, right? But now he's showing that you guys can't keep me out this rotation if you want this defensive line to be better than what it was last year. Then that's all you can. Where Jordan Vandenberg was drafted, that's all you can ask from a player like Jordan Vandenberg. He is so far ahead of schedule, it's ridiculous. So, I love what's happening here with Jordan Vandenberg. And like I said, this is the guy that if you're looking for something positive, the way that dude moved, man, and even with the way that he dealt with the double team as a rookie, that shows some veteran moxie. Like I said, the one thing that's keeping me from really being too glowing about it is it preseason, and I got to keep the same energy. I always say don't get too far up or too far down based off preseason. But listen, Jordan Vandenberg looks like that motherfucker. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. He looks like that motherfucker. So shout out to Jordan Vandenberg because the dude looks really good and really ahead of schedule. But the question now becomes about some players are starting to play their way off this roster. And I said it during the live stream on Saturday for the game is that we could start seeing cuts as soon as today. We could start seeing that. Now, I'm not saying they're going to make the mass cuts, but we could start seeing that as they get that lineup down to players that they know that they want to see a little bit more of. So when you look at people that could be on it, J.P. Richardson is a guy that could be on the block. Miller Moss is a guy that could be on the block. James Croma, right? I do think he had a huge preseason opener, and he had some moments in Saturday's game also, but statistically he was almost a nothing, right? Statistically, if you watch the game, you're going so that he had some good possessions. He had some good snaps. He had some good drives. He had that in what he did. But at the end of the day, too, I think that how much they weigh statistically, we'll see what happens in regards to that one. But I'll say this: preseason game 1 was about who forced the Bears, front office and the coaching staff to notice them. Game 2 started to show us some of those guys who you need to be comfortable letting go. Even if they go on and maybe make the practice squad, you need to be willing to go ahead and move on. and we could start seeing some cuts as soon as this week. The Bears could wait to do massive cuts and all their cuts on the same day since we don't have, you got to get the roster down by certain time periods anymore, but you could start seeing cuts as soon as today. And then I'll say this. The Bears secondary is getting scary thin. Tyreek Stevenson has been now noted as being week to week. That came from Ben Johnson directly. Kobe Bryant's out the entirety of the season. Kyler Gordon, nobody knows who the hell is. He hasn't even practiced at this point, right? And so that leaves you with Jalen Johnson and Dylan Thieneman right now are the only fully healthy players that were projected to be starters coming into the season. That's it, right? And this does concern me a little bit more now after losing 27-9, just a little bit, right? So the question becomes about like how confident is Ryan Poles and Dennis Allen and these coaches and like Xavier Woods and the veterans that they brought in. That's the question that now sits here in regards to this. And, the Bears secondary, again, second year in a row, has been completely decimated by injuries before the season even starts. Completely decimated. Now, on the flip side of that, it's good that Jalen Johnson is back looking like Jalen Johnson because when Jalen Johnson looks like him, he makes so much things easier. Dylan Thieneman has had some really good times, some really good opportunities, and he's shown some really good things to keep going with it, right? And so you have that part of it. Tyreek Stevenson reportedly is week to week. Again, that was revealed by Ben Johnson, which still does leave some questions on if he's going to be available week 1, right? He got tangled up with Luther Burden during a practice a couple of weeks ago that's had him sidelined. Luther Burden's also been sidelined, right? And so I think now that with Stevenson out for undetermined, amount of time, then you're not really knowing that along with Kobe Bryant and Kyler Gordon, it's going to put a lot on guys like Malik Muhammad, right? The rookie to really show some things. It's going to put pressure on guys like Jalen Duren. What? That's not what I meant to say. Why the hell did that come out? Jalen Jones, to come out here and show some things for the Chicago Bears, right? There's that it gives a lot of opportunity. Skylar Thomas, a guy that we talked about who he didn't have the strongest game either. So, but you're going to start seeing some cuts here. And I think in the secondary specifically, it matters a lot on who really steps up and shows some things. So is that Skylar Thomas? Is that Benny Bishop right now who's dealing with a suspension at the start of the season? So even if he does make it, he's not going to be there. Like, what happens with this secondary is one of the questions I think we all are going to have at the start of the season because there's so much opportunity for people to show us some stuff. And let's hope that they can do that. Let's hope that they can consistently do that because if they can't, it's going to get ugly, and it's going to get ugly real quick for the Chicago Bears team. So let's hope that they do that, and we'll see. But with that said, we got two rumors, both from Brad Biggs, in regards to two Chicago Bears that I want to get into, and we're going to get into that next. So when it comes to Ozzy Traplio, Brad Biggs speculated that Ozzy Traplio could start off the season on the IR, even though he was clear from the physically unable to perform list, which would give him a little bit of time to get back on the field. Now, me and Bobby talked about this, kind of expected, but I want to read this from Brad Biggs, who said this. Traplio did a little work with the coaches before the game, but nothing close to game action. To this point, we've really seen him participate only in individual drills, but this is still heading in a promising direction for the Bears, who likely feel he's going to be available for a good chunk of the season at some point. My hunch is that the Bears will move Traplio to the injury reserve either simultaneously with forming the 53-man roster or right after. There just isn't enough time for him to be game ready. So that's good, right? I take that as a positive. Some people are going to look at that and take it as ask if it's something to be negative. It's not. It's not negative at all. It actually means that he is still going to probably play the majority of the season. Because keep in mind, when you're on IR, you have a certain amount of time to get back. If the Bears put him on IR by the start of the season, it probably means that he could still miss. He'll miss the first month of the season, but it gives him that time period to ramp up, get ready to go. And if he does miss the first 4 or 5 games, if he's healthy after that, you're talking about him still playing 12, 11 games on the season. So I don't think that that's a bad thing, for Ozzy Traplio. You want to get him back in there. I still do think he's going to come off the bench when it comes down to it, but the Bears aren't chasing him being ready and available by week 1, and they should not chase that. They should chase him getting healthy first and then get there, right? The miracle isn't if he starts week 1 or not, right? The miracle is the fact that we're even talking about him playing the majority of the 2026 season after people, by most estimations, they thought he was going to miss the entirety of the 2026 season. Now, of course, with the play of the left tackle position, there are going to be a lot of Bears fans that are like, just get him out there, just get him out there, just get him out there. The left tackle, like I said, it's going to be what it's going to be. You're not going to change that at the start of the season. All you can do is that you hope that you get good enough play, that you can overcome it and play well enough, leading to Ozzy Traplio being back. With the Bears schedule being as tough as what it is, also, it's just going to be one of those things that you're going to have to dig in. The next man up mentality is going to have to be what it is. And there's just no other way around it. It's going to have to be the next man up mentality one way or another. That's not going to change any other way. So, we got till September 13th when we play our first game. So we're about 3 weeks away from that. And, then Ozzy will have another month or so after that to get back healthy. That gives him, from the moment he was clear from the PUP list till when he actually plays, it may be 2 months. But that still leaves the majority and the biggest chunk of the season, which is still a huge plus and positive for the Chicago Bears. When we talk about how that outlook initially happened, when Ozzy Traplio went down with that, it was widely reported that he was probably going to miss maybe the entirety of the 2026 season. That's not a question anymore. Ozzy Traplio is going to play this season. And the way and the path that he's on is that he's going to play the majority of this season, which is great for Ozzy Traplio and great for the Chicago Bears when you consider all those things. Moving some of those guys back to being depth pieces is actually going to be best for the overall health of the offensive line. And we have a natural progression to get to that without it needing to be, got to acquire another guy or something like that. I did see an article out there, questioning if the Chicago Bears should revisit going after a veteran. And, not to say that maybe if they feel that it's terrible that they may not look to do something like that. We know that the Bears aren't against bringing in veterans, but the question is now, is any veteran that's even out there available? You're not talking about making trades. I don't think the Chicago Bears are going to make a trade for a left tackle, right? So you're talking about acquiring a left tackle that's out there available in free agency. Is there going to be anybody who's going to bring that in and be better than Braxton Wills and Theo Benedict and Karan Amagaje? Those guys collectively? I don't know. Now, listen, if the Bears were to cut Karan, for example, I'm just throwing his name out there, and then turn around and sign a guy like Taylor Decker, who's out there who, reportedly Ben Johnson didn't make a call to him kind of at the start of the offseason, but, he reportedly really isn't considering going to the Chicago Bears. But let's just say the Bears did cut Karan Amagaje and brought in veteran Taylor Decker. He doesn't have the upside of Karan Amagaje, but your upside play is Ozzy Traplio anyway, right? So I wouldn't hate it. It wouldn't be something I look at and say, oh my God, why did you do that? It'd be, all right, if you feel like that gives you a better chance to sustain your left tackle play between now and when Ozzy Traplio goes, go out and do that. But I just don't think the Bears are going to do it. I think they're going to play it safe. They're going to use what they have here, the players that have been familiar, that work with the offensive line, that have some chemistry, and just try to overcome. You're not going to solve every shortcoming. Every team's going to have a shortcoming, and right now the Bears is going to be that left tackle position, it seems like. But then Brad Biggs also talked about DeAndre Swift possibly getting a extension. Now, we've talked so much about Caleb Williams and his extension coming and that being the next big one, but Brad Biggs lays out an interesting thing here. He says this: if a deal is to be done before September 13th, opener in Carolina, DeAndre Swift is a player to keep an eye on. Swift is entering the final year of a 3-year, $24 million contract he signed in free agency of 2024. Swift could go from being a player who a lot of folks wondered might be a fit for the new coach Ben Johnson to emerging as a building block for the near future. Now, this is interesting because, a lot of people did question that when Ben Johnson came in, right? But now Swift enters the last year of his deal, where he had a breakout season of 1,087 yards last season, nine rushing touchdowns, right? Plus another 299 yards receiving and a touchdown. Now, the Bears finished third in offense. And the thing what do I always say? Every offseason is about finding answers to questions that you have on your roster and trying to avoid creating new questions where you can. Keeping DeAndre Swift would keep the Bears from creating a new question. It would be that you're keeping your running back core. If DeAndre Swift and Kyle Managa that have already proven to be really good, he's proven a fit for Ben Johnson. He's still only 27 years old. He's been an explosive element to that Chicago Bears run game, and he forms a really productive tandem with Kyle Managa, which is good. And it keeps the continuity on the offensive side of the ball, where you're expected to be elite. If you're elite at anywhere, is on the offensive side of the ball. Now, the arguments against that, some people could make valid arguments against why not extend DeAndre Swift right now. Running backs depreciate quickly. Not a lot of running backs get second contracts with teams. It's kind of the era that we're in right now. And Kyle Managa gives them a option as well that you're going to maintain a certain floor. And then you also, the running back, crop that's coming in next year's draft could put you in a position where you don't need to do that, right? I do think that you can reassess after 2026. Now, that means that you're not extending him. You have to negotiate with him as a free agent, but that's it, right? I think that, if you're talking about giving DeAndre Swift a contract extension today, again, I wouldn't be mad at it depending on what the number is, but I can also understand the flexibility that you may want to save in not locking in a running back on a contract right now. So the question I want to throw to you guys in this one: would you give DeAndre Swift a 2-year extension right now on reasonable money, or would you make him earn it throughout the season and then reevaluate what you feel like you can get in the draft plus with what you see this season. Let me know what you guys think on that part down below. But that's going to do it for today's episode, y'all. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys sound off on everything and how you feel about it all down below. You can, I want to hear your thoughts on the preseason game. How ass was it to you? All that type of stuff. What do you think about Ozzy starting off the season on the injured reserve? And what do you think about the DeAndre Swift contract extension? Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. You can also follow us at Shy Bear Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.